In this section, we are going to learn how to divide polynomials. So we are on section 5.6 on page 465 in your text. We are going to work problem numbers 2 through 20 even. So on number 2, on section 5.6, I have 28 to the 7th over 5a to the 5th. This problem is just a review from sections 5.1 and 5.2. So we would do 20 divided by 5 is 4, and then a to the 7th divided by a to the 6th. So when you divide your bases, you subtract your exponents. So 7 minus 5 is 2, so that gives me a squared. The 2 goes on top because the 7 was bigger than the 5. On number 4, I have 42x to the 5th y squared over 6x to the 3rd y. So 6 goes, Ronald, would you shut that door for me, please? So 6 goes into 42 7 times. X to the 5 divided by x to the 3 gives me x squared, because 5 minus 3 is 2, and it goes in the numerator because 5 is bigger than 3. And then I've got y squared divided by y to the 1st. Well, 2 minus 1 is 1, and it goes in top because 2 is bigger than 1. So you can write that as your answer, or you could write 7x squared y. The whole point of showing you that is you do not have to write that 1 for your exponent for y, but you can if you wish. Number 6, I've got 3x minus 6 divided by 3. This problem is different than the first two problems we did because you have two terms in your numerator, whereas here you always just had one. So let's take a little bit of a step backwards from when we learned about the properties of fractions. And when we would add, let's say, 1 over 7 plus 3 over 7, well, we would add 1 plus 3 and keep your same denominator, which would give me 4 over 7. So in this section, what we're going to do is we're going to take our fractions from this point and break them apart and put them in that point. So we're going to take each term and put them over the same denominator. So that gives me 3x over 3 minus 6 over 3. So these 3's will cancel. 3 goes into 6 2 times. So I'm left with x minus 2 for my answer. Number 8 says I have 10m squared plus 5m all divided by 5. So again, I separate these terms over the same denominator. So I have 10m squared over 5 minus 5m over 5. And then you simplify. 5 goes into 10 2 times. 5 goes into 5 1 time. So I'm left with 2m squared minus m. And if you put minus 1m, that would be okay as well. On number 10, 9x to the 3rd plus 12x squared, all divided by 3x. So I would separate my 9x to the 3rd to be over 3x and my 12x to the 3rd to be over 3x. So we have to take this one bit at a time. So 3 goes into 9 3 times. And then I've got an x to the 3rd divided by an x to the 1st. When you divide your bases, you subtract your exponents. So 3 minus 1 is 2. So that would give me a 3x squared. And then 3 goes into 12 4 times. And the same thing. Oops. Did I write the problem correct? Oh, this was an x squared. So 2 minus 1 would give us an x to the 1st. So I have 3x squared plus 4x to the 1. Number 12 says I've got 20b to the third minus 25b squared divided by negative 5b. This one's a little tricky because of the negative in the denominator. So I have 20b to the third divided by negative 5b minus 25b squared divided by negative 5b. Well, 20 divided by negative 5 gives us negative 4. And then b to the third divided by b to the first is b squared. So that would give us negative 4b squared. And then a negative 25. Notice this 25 is negative because of that subtraction sign there. So the negative 25 divided by negative 5 is a positive 5. And then b squared divided by b to the first is a b to the first. So that's minus 5b. Number 14, I have 21x to the 5, excuse me, minus 28x to the 4, plus 14x to the third, all divided by 7x. So I'm going to write everything over that same denominator. So all of these x's are to the first power. So 7 goes, oops, looks like my autofocus wasn't locked. Okay, so 21 divided by 7 is 3. 7 goes into 28 4 times. 7 goes into 14 2 times. So I have 3x to the fourth, because 5 minus 1 is 4, minus 4x to the third, because 4 minus 1 is 3, and then 2x squared, because 3 minus 1 is 2. Number 16, I have 2t to the fifth minus 28, oops, sorry about that, minus 12t to the third plus 2t squared, all divided by 2t squared. So I'm going to separate everything to be over that same denominator. So I have 2t to the fifth over 2t squared minus 12t to the third divided by 2t squared plus 2t squared divided by 2t squared. This is a really good problem to understand for your test. You could have one like this on your test. So your 2's cancel. 2 goes into 12 6 times, and these 2's cancel because 2 goes into 2 1 time. So I'm left with a t to the third, because 5 minus 2 is 3, minus 6t, because 3 minus 2 is a 1. You can either write the 1 or not. And then whenever you have a t squared divided by t squared, remember, whenever you are dividing the same number and or variable by itself, you're always left with 1. And that's our final answer. Number 18 says I have 16 a to the third b squared minus 4a squared b squared plus 8a squared b to the third, all all divided by 4a squared b squared. So I'd put all of these terms over that same denominator. So once you've written everything over that same denominator, you can go ahead and simplify. 4 goes into 16 4 times. So I'm left here with 4a, because 3 minus 2 is 1, and then these b's cancel out. These b squares cancel out. Minus 4 goes into 4 one time. Now I've got a squared b squared over a squared b squared. Since it's the same thing divided by the same thing, it would be a 1. And then 4 goes into 8 two times, and I would have 2b, because these a's cancel, and 3 minus 2 is 1 for that b. So I would accept this as your answer. However, we could go a step further and put it in that alphabetical order, which would have 4a plus 2b minus 1. But again, I would have accepted either one of these. Now for the final problem for this section, number 20. I have 16 m to the third plus 24 m squared n squared minus 40 m into the third, all divided by 8m n squared. So I'm going to write everything over the same denominator. I'm going to do it down here because I'm running out of room. Now you simplify. 8 goes into 16 two times, 8 goes into 24 3 times, and then 8 goes into 40 5 times. So I have 5m squared n, I'm sorry, not 5, 2, because 8 went into 16 two times. So I'm left with m squared because 3 minus 1 is 2, and I'm left with n to the first because 3 minus 2 is 1. Plus 3m. I'm left with 3m because 2 minus 1 is 1, and those n squares cancel, minus 5n. You're left with that 5n because these m's canceled, and then 3 minus 2 is that 1. That is it on dividing polynomials. I hope you found this video useful. Good luck.